Hi, and welcome to Ascension and 5D Chats. Today we're talking to Bonnie Casamassima about blending research and intuition. Welcome to Ascension and 5D Chat, where we discuss what is happening with our planet's ascension journey. I am Rachel Chamness. I help lightworkers connect to their spiritual helpers and light path.
Oh, it's so good to be here with you. Thank you so much.
Bonnie is an evidential medium and researcher at intuitivebynature.com, and she has such amazing research. And we met recently. Actually, you live here in Knoxville, so we met recently and we're talking, and I just find you really fascinating and so just love all the things that you're doing. So I'm so excited you'll be here to tell the audience all about it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into this line of work and your background?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, it's so great to be on here with you. And hello to all of your listeners and the community out there. It's wonderful to be here. I loved when we met how it was just this instant, okay, we've got to get to know each other better. So it's an honor to be on here on your podcast. So thanks for that. So a little bit about the background in a nutshell is I had spent the last 10 plus, or really closer to 15 years now, in the corporate world as well as a research professor. And I started meditating for stress reduction. I just needed to calm down a little bit. I was working 60 plus hours a week. And that meditation practice grew because it felt right. So I just kept following what felt right. And then one day, while minding my own business in meditation, I start to receive really clear visuals popping in my mind's eye. It's hard to explain. It was almost like a movie screen in my mind's eye. And I'll be really honest, I was so analytical, and it quite frankly scared the crap out of me when it happened. And but when I really tuned into my body, something about it felt so right. It was just pure love, very grounded, very calming. So once I calmed down, I showed back up to meditation again, and the visuals kept coming. So, in a nutshell, that really led me on a multi-year journey involving multiple mentorships where I was honored to work with other leaders in mediumship and intuition to really try to understand what this was. How am I understanding my abilities? How am I protecting my energy? And along that journey, started offering channeling sessions for others. I started receiving visuals for others on their journey. And for the longest time, to kind of close it out to where we are today, is I said, wait a second, am I an academic researcher teaching graduate students how to research for their own graduate work? Or am I an evidential medium? And I sat down and I said, why not both? Like, why not all of it? What might it feel like if we showed up in all of those layers? So that's where I am today. And it's an honor to have a project, which we could talk about in a little bit, where I've had the honor of interviewing over 50 other mediums from around the world, or those that are highly intuitive, and understanding what was their journey connecting with their intuition, and were there any supports, any hindrances, those type things, and seeing if any patterns emerged. So in a nutshell, that's a little bit about me, and it's such an honor to be here with you all.
That's so cool. I want to hear about what did you find, or what can you share with us about what you found?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're still in the final stages right now. I was honored to work with a research analyst to help with the data analysis. So she and I analyze the data separately to help with that quality control. For anybody that's out there that's a research nerd like me, it has gone through a process called a review board process, which is what the protocol is within academia. So it's following really strict rigor. So I can share a little bit, but we're still in the final details, so I can't share all of it. So stay tuned for more on that. What we are finding very powerfully is that intuition comes in a wide range of ways for people. Sometimes they receive visuals, sometimes it's body sensations, sometimes it's sounds, sometimes it's smells, sometimes it's synchronicities in nature, or all of the above, right? A combination of it.
It can come in so many ways. I
So
love that you're saying that, because so many people think it has to be sight and it doesn't.
Absolutely. And it makes a lot of our conditioning often is if you can see it, you can believe it, right?
Right.
And I'll admit, I've been in that. So for me, visuals come in my mind's eye. Sometimes they'll come with my eyes open, walking around, but very rarely. And so really with that is just honoring how it comes through for you and learning that self-trust that some people do report, yeah, I see orbs or entities or spirits walking around, but many times they'll describe it as there was just this deep knowing, this deep gut feeling. I felt very safe and grounded in my body. It's hard to explain. I just had to talk to that person, right? So following that information and acknowledging that it can come from so many different ways. And to build on that, what we're seeing and what I firmly believe is that we're all connected to this intuitive information or information beyond what we let our naked eye see a lot of times, should we choose to connect with it. It's always a choice, but often many of us have shut off that connection, myself included with that, which is why it was such a surprise when I started my awakening with it.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I always thought that seeing would be the best part. Mm-hmm. And I didn't open my mediumship until I was about 44. I knew I was like a little bit psychic, but I didn't realize that I was actually a medium.
Yeah.
My story is just another medium told me I was a medium
Yeah.
in a session. And I was like, oh. And so I just kind of started working with mentors too and opened it up. And I was very surprised. And then I realized that I did have clairvoyance as a kid, but I turned it off because it scared me because I was seeing dead people. I started helping someone else reopen their clairs, and it worked for me as well. And then suddenly I'm very clairvoyant. But I really find that clairaudience is easier because it's a little more exact. You know, with clairvoyance, you sort of have to translate what they're showing you. But with clairaudience, they're just straight up telling you.
It does really streamline it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can you just give me the bullet points? And of course, I'm like, can you give me the cliff notes and tell me the exact plan? Dear intuition, what is my 20-year plan? Silence, right? Silence.
Oh, they'll never tell you that.
Yeah. What am I supposed to do tomorrow? Then it's everything, right? It's really fascinating. Yeah.
So do you use your spirit guides or your helpers to help you with your business too? Like what you're just saying, what do I do tomorrow? Because I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing that we're finding in the research, which is really fascinating, is how people use this information. So yes, some of them that we interviewed were practicing mediums or Reiki masters, but many of them were lawyers, doctors, CPAs, coaches, therapists from all over the world who were deeply connected with a relationship with their intuition. And they communicated over and over and over again that it helps me to be a better leader. It helps me to be a better parent. It helps me to be more grounded in me. And I think the root of a lot of it is it allowed them to connect deeply with that innate inner wisdom that's already running powerfully through them and inside of them via these different outlets. So their spirit guides, their ancestors, their intuitive insights, their gut feelings. It was really around a deep relationship with themselves. And the more that they tuned into that, the stronger that connection became.
I love that because that's what I think, that you could use it for anything.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Learning to be a medium or to open your mediumship clairs, your psychic clairs, it's not always about doing it as a profession. It's about what it can do for you. These are your helpers. They will guide you. They'll help you with all kinds of things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when we look at cultures from around the world, many people are deeply in tune with this as their way of life, right? If we look at ancient Polynesian cultures, if we look at cultures, many indigenous populations, this is something that's almost like a 101 for their way of like, yeah, I talked to my aunt last night. Oh, where does your aunt live? Well, she's passed away, But they talk to them in their dream state. They talk to them when their body is able to get into a state where they're able to tune into this subtle energy, which is around us all the time. But oftentimes, the noise of our everyday modern lives can be really successful in tuning that out. Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. And our culture as Americans does not have anything like that. We are go, 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 work, 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 work.
Yeah, push through it, push through it. Yeah. I
Mhm.
think another thing with that is so absolutely using this in your everyday modern life. I think that is like the fire in my belly is how do we say, like, yell from the rooftops? It took me a while to get here, right? But it feels so freaking good to be here. We're allowed to connect with this deep information. We're allowed to have a really good time while we do it too. Yes, like I think toxic positivity is a thing. We want to avoid that for
Mhm.
sure. But allow yourself to really follow. If it feels good, follow that. If it feels aligned, follow that and give yourself permission, should you choose, to be in joy with it. Because energetically, what I've personally experienced, I'm curious to hear your experience. The more that I let myself step into that state of joy, doing things that I love, right? I love dancing. I love having conversations with other brilliant people. The more easily that energetic information from the subtle realms is able to connect with me because I'm more of an energetic match with that state of freedom and
Yes.
love and joy. Yeah. So I'm curious.
That's that's exactly how I explain mediumship, is
Yes.
that we have a vibratory signature, we have an energy signature, and so does everything. And
Yes.
so when you want to bring in a channel from something else, you just have to bring your vibration up to match their signature.
Totally. Absolutely. Absolutely. And what's really cool with this is so we feel this intuitively, right? It's like, all I know is this feels phenomenal and I'm going to keep following that because that's really wonderful, right? And that's enough. Like, follow that. Make sure you're rooted in love. Make sure you stay grounded, right? We want to always protect our energy, those type things. But if you're being that energetic imprint, you're putting that out and therefore you're attracting that. What's really fascinating for my scientific brain is that we're seeing a really strong parallel in academic research within neuroscience and mindfulness when we're able to get into these more present states of being. We are able to receive these strong visuals in meditation. Is it okay if I nerd out for a second here?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You're a nerdy company, don't worry.
No, this is great, right? Shout out to all the nerds out there, right? What we're seeing, which is really fascinating, is our bodies. I mean, we feel this intuitively, but it's really has been supportive for me and my logical mind to see some of the research and the data around it too, to help me to fully embody it. Is when we're able to get our bodies or our nervous systems down regulated to a level where we feel at peace, at ease, we are able to more easily get into the brainwave states of theta and alpha brainwave states. So when we're looking at things like meditation or mindful walking or mindful eating, or even just self nurturing to help downregulate our very overstressed nervous systems, we're more easily able to get into those theta and alpha brainwave states. And when we can use those, so down regulating our nervous system or being calmer or meditating for stress reduction, like my experience, we can more naturally get into those brainwave states. And it's there that that subtle energy and information within our subconscious can play a little bit more freely. So, regardless of how you get there, I think one thing I'm so inspired by is with seeing this information, we know it's repeatable. So sometimes we might just like, oh, I was just dancing and I got all these downloads. I don't know what happened, but it was amazing. Well, now we know if we can downregulate our nervous system and get into those alpha and theta brainwave states, we can repeat that with intention. And for
Right.
me, like that opened up so much. It's like, oh, I have an active role in this. It was exciting.
That's really cool. And really, to do that is practice. The more you practice it, the faster you can get into that brainwave state.
Totally. Yeah. I'm curious, like, what are some things that you enjoy to really get into that state of being? And I know now it just is pretty automatic, but as you were building that muscle, what was the part of
Well, what I did was use meditation, like quiet meditation myself, to meet spirit guides, and I still do that, and
Yeah.
then speak with them, or like channeled writing, things like that. In my trance mediumship class, that's how I help people meet their spirit guides, is through meditation and using sound healing. Because another thing I was thinking when you were talking is that you can also use certain forks, tuning forks, to put people in alpha state.
Yeah.
And I use those sometimes too to help people in the class. So we do a lot of that. Meditation is what I use. And then after a while, after you do that a lot of times, then you don't need the meditation. It's all about personal practice.
Really. I completely agree. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah. And that's been my experience too, is the more that first it was a practice, like, okay, the most I could meditate was a 2-minute guided meditation in the beginning. Right. But it felt right. So I showed up, and the next day I tried a 3-minute meditation, and that felt right. And then a few days later I did a 4-minute, and now you're able to really have that almost energetic imprint in your body, that muscle memory, just like working out or going to the gym.
Yes.
Practice. Yeah. It's a way of being now. And that's really wonderful. And I'll definitely, like, I'm the proud co-parent of 2 teenagers and working and all the different things. So it's easy to, like, get angry when I'm driving behind crowded roads, right? I'm human. I pop out real fast, but it's a lot easier to get into that state of being because of that practice. And it's very much an ongoing practice. It's not just a one-time thing for me.
Yeah, for me too. I feel like I can access it so quickly now.
Yes.
It doesn't take a long time. That's what I'm always trying to tell everyone, especially my students. Like, if you just practice, if you do a lot of practicing, then it will come so fast. That's really the difference. Yeah.
I agree. And I have a mentorship as well. And I love that there's so many people that are on fire with this, and, like, let's share it with the world. So please, let's keep collaborating and shining ourselves and sharing that. Because how do we make this really accessible? And that's a big thing that we talk about in my mentorship is, what are some ways that you feel most supportive for your meditation practice? Yes, we see that this is a really powerful catalyst, but meditation can look a lot of different ways. I think because of my energetic imprint, loving dance and movement, I tend to attract a lot of those incredible people. So they're like, sitting down for 5 minutes is really hard for my body. I was like, well, let's go with what's good for your body. How does dance feel? How does a guided movement practice feel? Like, that can be meditation too. Whatever way you get to it, that practice is, I think, the essential piece of it. But it can look a lot of different ways and make it resonant for you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm thinking when you talk about, like, intuitive dance, it reminds me of light language dance. And I have a few students who use light language to get into the meditative state, which is also a really great way to do it. And that can be sound or dance or art or anything, just whatever works for you. There's so many entrances into that. Yeah, that's cool.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing, at least, and what the research is showing, is that it's what makes you, one, feel very safe, because it's important for us to feel safe in our bodies and our state of being. But two, what makes us have a lot of fun, like what gives us the most joy, because we're going to keep showing up. If it's fun, we're going to keep showing up.
Right.
But it's interesting how it can be difficult sometimes, myself included, where I've been taught for so long, if you're not working really hard, you're not doing it right. If you're not miserable, you're not doing it right. If you're not in a publish or perish environment that's competitive, you're not doing it right. And it's been a lot of unlearning that it's okay for it to be joyful. In fact, that's when it becomes more powerful, or it can.
I think so. Yeah. There's so many people who think they have this life and then they have a silly dream. I just have a silly dream. I just wish I could, I always wished I could have been a rock star or something,
Yeah.
And I feel like there's always a connection.
Totally.
When I was a singer, I just loved singing in front of crowds and like in the audience. Of course, I love dressing up and all the fun stuff that comes with opera. But I really loved the thought that I was healing people, like, because the notes themselves are healing. And so that was actually what I'm doing now, using my voice a lot to heal people. And it's connected. And sometimes people just have to find how that connects to their true path. Like this desire, it has purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Follow. And when I was teaching graduate students, a lot of times I would talk with them in our one-on-ones and say, what makes your heart light up about this? What aspect of design or psychology makes your heart light up about this? And you would see they would start talking about it and their energy would shift. Their color would come back to their skin. Like, these are people that hadn't slept in a few days, right? We're in finals, it's intense because that's the world that we thought we had to live in, you know? And they would light up and spark with that. And you see it energetically, you see it emotionally, and you would see that strong connection of they were able to, once they tuned into what made them excited or what brought them joy, like, oh, wait a second, like I can work in this in a really powerful way. I really love healing and health and well-being. I'm really drawn to helping design the architecture of hospitals, right? So again, I totally agree with you, Rachel, in that some people do, right? Life plot twist. I'm now a medium, but it doesn't have to be that way. And you can use this to really pull into your everyday modern lives. I think that's what I'm so passionate about and so excited to be on here talking with you about is how do we bring this connection into our everyday modern lives and use it as an additional really beautiful tool in that way of being by identifying what lights us up, what's our medicine, and how do we really connect with that. I have a good friend I was talking to over the weekend, and she was saying, I was like, what lights you up most right now? And she talked about comedian, like she's a comedian and a powerful one. And she talks about how when she does that, she just feels so alive and she sees that alive energy ripple through the audience. And it's like that's your gift. That's your medicine. Keep following that. Or another friend, really, really passionate about leadership for those that identify as women in the restaurant industry. And she's like, I want to be the unifier that we can collaborate and not compete. I was like, that is your medicine. Follow that. It doesn't have to be, it can look a lot of different ways. And I think that's what's so exciting about this. I think the takeaway with that, to echo what you were sharing, Rachel, is to really look at those things that people ask, Bonnie, how do I connect with my intuition? And a first question can be, what are the things that make you feel really alive? Is it dancing? Is it cooking? Is it meditation? Tune into how you feel in that and then follow that feeling. Like, you've identified your barometer, you've identified that attunement, and then continue to practice that with intention. Bring intention to it.
Well, this is so much about coming into the present moment, which is everything, right?
Everything.
I mean, how can you hear your guides or your helpers, as I call them? How can you hear anything if you are not in the present moment? If you're thinking about the past, what do I have to do? What do I have to get done? Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Where's the space for any of this? And meditation is a great way to just get still, even if you don't know how to meditate yet, even if you can't, like you were saying, you started with 1 minute, but even if you could just sit for 30 seconds and just come into the present moment,
Mm-hmm.
and wow, that's a huge difference.
Absolutely. I'm curious to hear your experience with this because I feel like so much of my practice now, like while it started, and I still meditate daily, ideally on my best days, morning and evening for, a few minutes each time to really honor that connection and give gratitude to that connection. So much of it are those moments, those in between spaces of presence. So if I'm waiting in line at the grocery store, I take a minute and just focus on my breathing, inhale through my nose, out through my mouth. Or if I'm at a red light, right, to just take a moment and feel my body, like pull my energy back into this moment, this moment, this moment. And the more that I'm able to do that, again, in your everyday life, like I'm driving our daughter or my partner's daughter to school, right? Like be present, be here in this really sacred time. The more that those doors open up, the more that the intuitive connection is just part of our everyday being. It doesn't have to happen during meditation. It can just pop in the shower, which is really wonderful. Yeah.
You know, the most interesting thing that is occurring to me as we're talking is that when you are present, that's like the most fun. When you think about any time that you had the most fun, you were totally present in the moment. You were in the zone, or you were having a great conversation that you were totally present for. It wasn't anything like, I was sitting around at my desk thinking about what I was going to do tomorrow.
Absolutely. We actually my partner and I just got back from a week-long retreat in Hawaii, and it was such an honor to be there. And it was rooted in really understanding the sacred traditions around, the framework is Hawaiian Lomi Lomi, sacred temple style, but a lot of it was really around that practice of being present in this moment and connecting with that. And it was really eye-opening how much of my life and our lives were not rooted in this present moment, being very aware. And when we are that, just to echo what you're sharing, is how you feel that life coming in your body. I can physically feel that energy flowing in. I can physically feel my body almost expanding and vibrating with that. Those are some of the ways that it comes through for me. And it's, I think it can be really easy in our everyday lives to not be in that state because there's so many things asking for our attention. So it really can be as simple as like coming back to this moment and letting yourself have a really good time with it.
Yeah, or even just for a moment, or building a habit that includes presence, like going outside every morning, walking barefoot in the grass, letting, sunlight on your face and just enjoying that, or gardening. I know a lot of people use gardening for that.
Yeah, that's a lot of what we talk about in my mentorship is how do we pull this? Because I'm really honored to work with therapists, nurses, CPAs, like people that are like, I'm really drawn to intuition. I want to know how to use it in my everyday life, but I don't know if, my path is going into being a medium. It's like, that's great. Let's chat, because anything that I can share along the journey of my experience going from research professor to intuitive medium, I'd be honored to share that. A lot of what we look at are what does your day-to-day look like now? And where are those moments of opportunity to really tune back into that present state? Is it that you do an energy clearing ritual in the shower in the mornings? Is it that you walk?
I do it.
Right? Yeah. Right. Isn't it the best? It's one of my favorites, right? But how are you pulling those moments in line at the grocery store, or protecting your energy before you go into a concert, right? And being the energy that you want to attract. Like, how are you sending out that love? So that's what you're receiving with it. It's been such an honor to get to work with people. So there's a lot of research around it to kind of frame it. And then there's so much practice and community, like being together, sharing our experiences and being witnessed in that in a really fun way. And there's definitely dancing involved as well.
Can you imagine if every person on the planet did this?
Oh my gosh.
What a different world it would be.
That's yes. And let's keep visualizing that, because I feel like that people say, why? Like, why should I connect with my intuition?
You're missing out if you don't, though.
Yeah. And there's a
It's
choice.
beautiful.
But I kind of think about it is it's like I was typing for a long time on my computer without my fingers. Right. And then I woke up to my intuitive abilities and I realized I can type letters with my fingers now. If that's like an interesting analogy, it's like there's this other really incredible tool, relationship that we are able to connect with. and you don't have to do it alone. Like, we're deeply supported with it, and it's really powerful. And that's I guess the fire in my belly is, what if we all gave ourselves permission to connect? And my lens is blending that logic and research and intuition through a lot of fun with it as well. And I love how there's so many different ways in which this is communicated. So sound healing, right? The incredible work that you're doing. Yes, please, let's keep sharing this, because I think it would be such an amazing world.
Well, I would love it if you would tell everybody about your mentorship program and where to find you.
Sure. Yeah. So again, my name is Bonnie Casamassima. Bonnie works just fine. And I am honored to kick off a next round of the mentorship, where we're really looking at intuition, what it is, and we're doing it in community. So it's an online program with the option, should people want to meet in person locally here in Knoxville, to connect in community. It'll be a series of online sessions as well as one-on-ones to really support each person on their own journey. The span is about 3 months, and it's all around connecting with your intuition. It's most aligned for those that are maybe waking up to their abilities and trying to understand, what do I do with this? What is this? And those that are really curious and wanting to dive a little bit deeper with it. So it would be an honor to connect with y'all. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But you'll find that at intuitivebynature.com/mentorship. I'll put a link somewhere around here.
And it's in the description as well. So
Beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for coming. It was really nice to have this conversation with you, and I'm so glad that we got to meet and that we live in the same town.
It's been such a joy being here. Thank you, Rachel. And thank you for all those that are tuning in, listening. It's such an honor to be here with you all.
All right. Well, we'd love to hear your comments about what you think or what it made you think about. So please put them in the comments below and we'll respond. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.